My name is Jennifer, and I want to share my story with you. I live in a small town called Zico, not far from a big city. It's a quiet place with peaceful streets, cozy shops, and the gentle sound of the river nearby. I'm 24 years old and work as a librarian at the town library. My life was simple, and I liked it that way. Some people might say it was boring, but I was happy. I had a few close friends, a small apartment, and a daily routine that made me feel safe. After some painful relationships in the past, I told myself I didn't need love anymore. I thought staying alone was easier. But life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. One rainy afternoon, a man named John came into the library. He looked different from the usual visitors, calm, polite, and a little tired. He had kind eyes, a gentle smile, and spoke softly when he asked for a book. I helped him find it, and he thanked me in a warm, personal way. I noticed the way he looked at me, not in a creepy way, just kind. I smiled back without thinking. The next day, he came back. This time, he asked for directions around town. I told him where to find the best coffee shop, the quiet park, and the local bakery with delicious bread. He really listened. Most people don't. After that, we talked more. He started visiting the library every afternoon. Sometimes we took short walks in the park. Other times we sat on a bench under the trees and talked about books, music, dreams, and life. He told me about his stressful job in the city, and I shared my simple life in Zico. I felt safe with him. I felt seen. One evening, we walked along the river. The sky was pink, and the air was soft. He turned to me and said, "Being with you feels like peace." Those words stayed in my heart. I think I started falling for him at that moment. Eventually, his visit ended, and he left Zico. But we stayed in touch. Every night, he messaged me. We talked on the phone, laughed, and shared stories. I missed him more than I expected. A month later, he came back, but this time, he rented a small house near the river. He invited me over. We cooked dinner, listened to music, and danced in the living room. It felt like we had known each other forever. I felt lucky, but one night, everything changed. We were sitting on the couch, drinking tea. He looked serious and took a deep breath. "Jennifer," he said, "I need to tell you something." My heart started beating fast. "I'm married," he said quietly. "I have 2 children." I froze. My hands turned cold. I looked away. "I didn't know what to say. I didn't plan to meet you," he explained. "But my marriage isn't working. We live in the same house, but we're not happy. I stay only for the children." His voice was full of sadness. I couldn't speak. My mind was racing. Why didn't he tell me earlier? Why now? I walked outside into the cold night, feeling lost. I heard the river flowing gently. He followed me. "I understand if you don't want to see me again," he said softly. I just nodded and went home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, why did I fall for someone who wasn't free? I remembered how he made me feel safe, how he looked at me, how he made me smile. I wanted to be angry, but I missed him too much. The next day, he sent a message, "I'm sorry. I miss you." I didn't reply for days. I felt lost. I couldn't focus at work. I kept checking my phone, hoping he would message again. My heart was torn. I told myself to forget him, but I couldn't. A week later, we met by the river. I told him I was hurt and that I didn't like being kept in the dark. He listened and said only 4 words, "I care about you." And I stayed. I knew it was wrong. Many would say I made a mistake. I knew I was the other woman. But I wanted to believe him. I hoped he would leave his wife and choose me one day, so we kept our secret. He visited Zico once or twice a month, staying in that little house. I'd go there after work. We'd cook, talk, and spend quiet evenings together. Sometimes we watched old movies, sometimes we just sat in silence. It felt real, but also like a dream that could disappear any time. We never went out in public. No photos, no dates, no plans for the future. Just small moments in that house. Still, he made me feel special. He remembered what I liked, brought me books, made me laugh, and made me feel loved. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't part of his real life. I was a secret. And yet I didn't leave. Why? Because I loved how he made me feel. Because I believed in him. Or maybe, because I was afraid to be alone. Over time, I changed. I stopped smiling the way I used to. I rearranged my schedule for him. I said no to friends, stayed home, always waiting for his next visit. My world became small. Sometimes, I stood by the river and asked myself, is this love or confusion? I told myself, maybe one day he'll choose me. But the doubts kept growing. I still loved him. But I was tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of being second. When he left, the house felt cold and empty. He never left anything behind, not even a toothbrush. It was like I didn't exist in his other life. I started to wonder, why do I let this happen? One rainy night, I sat by the window and whispered, what am I doing with my life? I loved someone who couldn't love me completely. I dreamed of a home, a family. Someone who would choose me every day. But I only had silence and empty rooms. I started believing I deserved more, but I was scared. I still hoped he would come one day and say, I left everything for you. But that day never came. One afternoon, I told my best friend Lily everything. How I felt tired, sad, and confused. She looked at me and said, Jennifer, you deserve to be loved openly. By someone who walks beside you in daylight, not just in the dark. Her words stayed with me. I realized how much I had changed. I didn't laugh anymore. I didn't go out, read, or see my friends. I had made my world small and lonely. One evening, John visited again. He brought flowers and kissed my forehead like always. But I was quiet. He asked, what's wrong? I said, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I feel like I'm not living my life. I want more. I need more. He sat in silence, then whispered, Jennifer, I love you. Then why don't you choose me? I asked. He looked down. It's not that simple. I have children. A family. And what am I? I asked. Just a secret. He didn't answer. That night, I cried not because he was cruel, but because I finally saw the truth. He would never leave. Not for me. Not for anyone. After that, I didn't message or call him. I needed time. I started going to the river every morning, letting the wind touch my face. I asked myself, what do I want? What makes me happy? Slowly, I remembered who I used to be, the girl who loved long walks, coffee with friends, and reading by the fire. I missed her. I thought about love. What does real love look like? It's not just flowers or kisses. It's someone who chooses you without hiding. Someone who says, you're mine, and means it. John kept sending messages, I miss you. Can I see you? But I didn't answer right away. A week later, he showed up at my door. I let him in. I needed to see you, he said. You've been quiet. I've been thinking, I replied. Thinking about us. About how I've been waiting, and how I've been losing myself. I love you, he said. Maybe I always will. And I love you too, I said softly. But I need someone who can give me all of their love, not just part of it. And for the first time, I meant it. He looked sad. I can't leave them, he whispered. I can't do that to my children. I nodded. I understood. But deep down, I also knew this was the end. I hope you find peace." I said softly, "I hope we both do." He hugged me tightly and whispered, "I'm sorry." Then he left. That was the last time I saw him. That night, I cried again. But this time, the tears felt different. The pain was still there, but it felt clean, like taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. The next morning, I walked to the river and watched the waves. The sky was clear. The wind was soft, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I knew healing would take time, but I had taken the first step. I wasn't waiting for a message. I wasn't checking my phone. I was just there, standing with myself. And that was enough. Months passed after I said goodbye to John. At first, the days felt long and heavy. I missed him, his smile, the way he held me, the quiet moments we shared. Some mornings I wanted to call him. Some nights I cried into my pillow, remembering his voice. But little by little, things began to change. I started spending more time with my friends again. Lily invited me for coffee every weekend. We talked and laughed. Sometimes we just sat in silence, enjoying each other's company. It felt good to be around people who loved me for who I really was. I also went back to the things I loved. I started reading again, gentle stories about hope, love, and healing. Every evening, I walked along the beach. I watched the sunset. I listened to the waves. The sea reminded me that life keeps moving, no matter what happens. Then, I took a small step for myself. I joined a writing class at the local community center. I didn't tell many people, I just wanted to do something that made me feel alive again. Every week, I wrote a few pages about my thoughts and dreams. It helped me heal. It reminded me of my voice. One evening after class, I stopped by a bookstore nearby. I hadn't been there in a long time. Inside, I saw a man looking at travel books. He smiled when he noticed me. I smiled back. He looked familiar, but I couldn't remember where. He walked over and said, "Hi. You're in the writing class, right?" "Yes," I nodded. "I just started last week." He smiled and said, "I'm Jeff." We chatted for a few minutes about books, travel, and the cold weather. It wasn't anything special, but something about him made me feel calm, safe. The next week, he sat near me in class. Afterward, we went to a small cafe across the street. We talked about simple things, family, work, favorite foods. He listened carefully when I spoke. He looked into my eyes, and for the first time in a while, I didn't feel nervous. I felt at peace. We began to meet more often. Sometimes for coffee. Sometimes just a short walk. He never asked about my past. He never pushed me. He was patient. Kind. One evening, we sat on a bench near the beach. The sky was orange. The air was cool. I turned to him and said, "Can I tell you something?" "Of course," he replied. I took a deep breath. I was in a relationship before. With someone who was married. I waited a long time for him. I loved him, but I was always second. I don't want that again. He stayed quiet, listening. Then he said, "Thank you for telling me. You're brave. And you deserve better." That night, I felt something warm in my chest, not because I was falling in love, but because I felt understood. Weeks passed. Jeff and I spent more time together. We went on walks, watched movies, and shared our dreams. He never rushed me. He never asked for more than I could give. Slowly, I started to smile again. I laughed without sadness behind it. One day, I looked in the mirror and I saw myself. Not the girl who waited for messages, not the girl who cried in the dark, but a woman. Strong. Kind. Alive. Jeff became part of my life, gently, like the sunrise after a long night. He didn't try to fix me, he just stood beside me. And in his quiet, steady way, he showed me what real love could feel like. One evening, we sat in the park, watching children play. I asked, "Do you want a family someday?" He smiled and nodded. "Yes. With the right person." I smiled too, because I know now love doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to be a secret. Love should feel safe. It should feel like coming home. Looking back, I don't regret my past. It taught me many things. I learned that love without respect isn't enough. I learned that waiting for someone who won't choose you only brings pain. And I learned that peace can't come from someone else, you have to find it inside yourself. And now, I have peace. I have hope. I have love. Love from someone who walks beside me, not someone who hides me. If someone asked me today, was it worth it? I would say, yes, because through all the heartbreak, I found myself, and in finding myself, I opened the door to a new kind of love, a love that is real, a love that is kind, a love I truly deserve.